Good afternoon. It's coming up. I'm a little early. It's 1:58 for our 2 o'clock YouTube live. Hope you're doing okay. It's getting warm here. It is, well, it's straight up 100 degrees in Las Vegas. Hope wherever you are. That is actually pretty mild for us. It was 1:15 day before yesterday. I got in my car, and I get it that, the temperature in the car is going to be different than the official temperature and all that sort of thing. But I'm hoping wherever you are, you're having a wonderful week and heading into the weekend. Today, we're going to talk about Huna, and I'm going to break it down for you. Uh, if you follow me at all, you know that I'm a teacher of Huna, and Huna is the Hawaiian spiritual tradition, but not spiritual in a religious sense. So I'm going to break it all down for you. And actually make a case for if you are interested in healing, if you're interested in transformational change, if you're interested in letting go of baggage, in forgiving those who have trespassed against you, if you are a clinician or a worker of any kind, a light worker, that investigating the Huna tradition would be, I think, worth your while. So let's back up. Um, I got a PhD years ago in 2011, and I started my coursework for that PhD in 2005 or six. And an elective in my course catalog was Huna, Huna. And Huna, and that's a new pen, it is. And you look amazing, by the way. I'm just reading the chat, and I'm taking compliments. So this is a new pen, and it is a beautiful fountain pen. And I'm a kind of a, I don't do jewelry very much at all, or accessories. I mean, I have a watch. It's a mechanical analog watch from Switzerland, and I have this European fountain pen. And I'm appreciative for the compliment about how I looked. I'm working at it, so thanks. So, but long about 2005 or six, I started a PhD program in clinical hypnotherapy with a American Pacific University, which is in Hawaii, and on the Big Island. And it used to be called, then it was called Kona University at some point. And one of the electives for my degree in clinical hypnotherapy was Huna. And I am looking through the course catalog, and I see that. And I would love for it to have been a romantic choice, even though I think unconsciously I was drawn to it. And I didn't know why. And I read about it. It said the shamanistic traditions of the ancient Hawaiians learned healing tools for forgiveness, for enhanced spirituality, for intuition, for releasing negative emotions, all sorts of things. And I saw Hawaii, Big Island, uh, course, college credit, and tax deduction. And so I did, because my university was in Hawaii, use every excuse I could to go to Hawaii. So I did a number of classes in Hawaii, and I continue to go twice a year because I like it. So Huna means, the literal translation means concealed wisdom. And you can find information. My teachers, Kuma Matt James or Dr. Matt and his company, Empowerment Incorporated, you can find him at NLP.com or Huna.com, where there's a lot of explanation around Huna. You can find my website, drpatrickscott.com. So that if you want some book learning, and Kuma Matt has a book on Amazon called, I think, Huna. And it probably has a catchphrase by it. It's good. So if you want to do some more research about it, what I'm going to talk about today is the application, why it should be interesting to you, why you would want to explore it, and at least get some training around it. And so if you look at some of the world's traditions in terms of healing, applications for healing, for wellness, for medical kinds of things, there are a number of what we would call the esoteric arts. And so certainly yoga is very common and popular. Yoga is, the jury's out. Some people say, well, it's just stretching. And some people say, well, no, it's really just breathing. Well, no, somebody says, well, it's really worship and it's really sacred and it whole thing. Well, I think it's all those things. And I've studied yoga my whole life. Student of yoga, not very flexible, have been humbled by many a yoga class. I would love to say that I participate in yoga regularly now. I don't. My last episode of buying yoga classes was at Vegas Hot Yoga here in town, where I got really sick in the 140-degree temperatures. And so I've elected that hot yoga is not my jam, but I do admire it. And so yoga is a tradition, comes from India. There are things called the Yoga Sutras, and it has thousands of years. Then you turn your attention to Reiki. So Reiki is a energy healing um, thing with symbols and hands-on healing. And we have places here in town, one place in Las Vegas called the Enchanted Forest Reiki Center, which is a beautiful facility with stores and crystals and books, and you can get readings there, and they teach classes, and I have taught classes there. Another wonderful resource for Reiki, and that there are layers of Reiki practitioners that go through training to be uh, trained at certain levels to be a master of Reiki or to be a practitioner of Reiki. And Reiki is about energy and healing energy. Then you look at acupuncture. Um, Acupuncture is a Chinese, people don't know this, but it's a Chinese medicine based thing that works in the meridian system and various energetic connections. I'm not going to go into the science of it, but the needles go in and they actually help with energetic healing, and people swear by it, just like people swear by chiropractic. And there are multiple kinds of chiropractors that deal with nuka, which is the neck and cervical spine, and then others that do more of the spinal adjustments and things like that. And then you can go to certainly hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming, biofeedback, and heart math, and Ayurvedic medicine, the medicine of the ancient India things, Chinese medicine, naturopathic medicine, and so on. Now, in my studies, and some of you know I've been doing this for a really long time, I have studied many of those traditions. And what I found, just as a blanket statement around Huna, is that Huna is the most complete system of healing and transformational change in humans that I've found. I'm going to say that again. Huna, the study of Huna, the practice and application of Huna, I'm going to get into exactly what it is in just a minute, is the most complete system. Now, I've studied psychology and social work and marriage and family therapy and hypnosis and lots of different things. And I am a clinician. I'm licensed. I'm a therapist. I run a clinic, a Western medical clinic. I'm on medical school faculties. I teach a lot of graduate students in the healing arts. So I have, and long before I came to Huna, I had done a number of things. I had done hypnosis and past life regression and all different kinds of meditation, studied with Deepak Chopra, with Carolyn Mace, with Meg Wheatley, with Andrew Weil, with Wayne Dyer, with Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters, studied with Sylvia Brown, James Redfield, and so on. So I believe that at my age and my generation, I do have a valid opinion to tell you about a course of study that I think is worth your while if you are remotely interested in the healing arts. Now, there. So let's get back to Huna. Huna, as I said, means concealed wisdom. The literal translation is secret, and Huna is more of a modern label for what would have been called in ancient times Ho'omana. The ancient Hawaiians, we think, and again, a lot of this is theoretical and passed down through oral tradition, but up to 35,000 years, depending on who you talk to, but at least several thousand years we know. And we know documented history. We can go back into the 16th century, 17th century, with the keeping of records in the oral tradition in terms of what was happening on the islands. Now, you understand that in 1776, Captain Cook landed on the Big Island in this area, Kealakekua, and near Huna now, but it's not important. And he discovered a culture largely devoid of mental or physical illness. These were very healthy people physically, very healthy people um, mentally and emotionally and spiritually, very connected to the land, as are indigenous people. So if you look in tribal traditions, and I haven't talked about this, how do I say this kindly? I don't know that I can. There is a point of view out there that in terms of the health of civilizations, that in human consciousness, tribal communal living historically has been some of the most healthy ways that humans have coexisted. I'll break that down a little bit. There have been a lot of studies of Native American, Aboriginal, tribal, communal indigenous people of all over the world, right? And there are patterns, trends, themes, and habits in those cultures um, that show that people can coexist in a way that's very, the wines would say ponno, that they can coexist in a way that's very healthy. And what Captain Cook found was a highly organized society, very stratified, very organized, very full of rules. And it's funny because you think about that whole hang loose Hawaiian attitude. Even today, there are lots of protocols in hula, the dance, in Huna, the study of the energy work. And there are lots of protocols and things like that in the Hawaiian tradition. But I think if you go to many Native American traditions, Aboriginal traditions, indigenous peoples, they too had their rituals and their ways of doing things. And so that's what Captain Cook found. He found, and at the time he arrived, and this is statistically and historically documented, was the time of the Makahiki, which was a time of almost like carnival, meaning it was a time of celebration. It was a time when people weren't working, and they thought that he was Lono. They thought he was a god. He was white, and it's a long story. And so they welcomed him, and they figured that this was a sign from the universe that this god comes in this weird ship with these weird colored people, and that they thought. And what he discovered was a people that were very healthy and handled their stuff very, very well, in contrast to the heavy drinking, smoking, carousing British sailors, if you will, that came with him. And so that's a whole other story for another day. But what he discovered was that there largely was no physical illness. They had specialists called kahunas, you've heard that term, of childbirthing and hut making and canoe making and, plant-based medicine. And I don't mean ayahuasca necessarily, but I mean there were certain kahunas that were very much specialists of plant medicine. They could go to the forest and find different herbs and leaves. There were kahunas of making the call to the energy, and that was the lineage that I'm in now, where we were at the right hand of the king, advising the king on when to go to war and the weather, and kind of looking down the path, some prediction, what we call kilo kilo in Hawaiian. And Captain Cook kind of hung out and found it. And he had come from Tahiti, and he spoke some Tahitian, and they were able to communicate. And so he would ask them, who are you? And they would say, or what is this place? And they would say, Hawaii. And if you've heard me teach, Hawaii translates ha meaning breath, vai meaning fresh water, e meaning supreme, but vai in this case meaning kind of a wave. And it means the supreme energy of life force that rides on the breath. And the reason why people were called haole or haole was mean ha with breath, ole without. And that Captain Cook, because they spoke from their throat and not their gut, they were called those who speak without breath, which I think is funny. So that's the term haole for white Westerners or white people in Hawaii. And it's a pejorative term. It's not flattering. It's like gajin in Japanese, where you're kind of white and kind of, a foreigner, if you will. And so he found a very organized society. And we think, at least on the Big Island, there were probably 400,000 or so of the population, of course, with smallpox, and what he brought with him was decimated. And I'm not going to go into that. But what we're left with today is a collection of study that I think warrants your attention. And I'm going to go through some of the core aspects of Huna today, and then give you some ideas of how you can further your study if it's interesting to you. So there are 18 aspects to Huna and the practice of Huna. As I said, Huna means concealed wisdom, and it is a modern term for what had been called ho'omana. Ho'o means to make, and mana, life force energy. You've heard mana from heaven. That's a common word in Western culture, and mana means energy. And the Hawaiians knew that energy could neither be created nor destroyed, and so they figured that the Hawaiians, this ho'omana idea had to do with the manipulation of energy, the playing with energy, and ultimately what we've learned is it has to do with empowerment. That ho'omana means empowerment, means personal empowerment. And Huna is a pretty lengthy study of personal empowerment. Now, subsumed under Huna is the dance, meaning the hula. You've heard of the hula. And when the missionaries came to the Hawaiian Islands and they really wanted to eradicate what they thought were heathen practices and the worshiping of idols, and they wanted everybody to be Christian, and they did convert a lot of people to Christianity, and that the Hawaiian indigenous traditions went underground as they've done around the world. There was a time when speaking Hawaiian was illegal in Hawaii. There was a time when the hula was tried to be outlawed because the missionaries outlawed because they thought that it was too sexual with the movement of the hips. There was a time when doing any of the things that I'm teaching now would have been considered heresy or of the devil because they just didn't understand it. They didn't understand what it was. And I'm here to tell you now, 20 years plus into my Huna studies, that it is the most complete collection of tools that I found. And I use them every day in my own, for myself, and I use them for clients. And I think there's real practical application. So let's go through it. There is a meditation tradition in Huna that mirrors meditation traditions from all over the world. Not new, not interesting. Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, all the Tibetan Buddhism, Japanese Zen Buddhism, and all that, big into meditation. But frankly, even Catholicism, if you start to add chanting and music and vocalization, global in cultures all over the world. So there's a chanting tradition, there's a meditation tradition, there's ritual, just like there is in many religions and practices. The sun salutation in yoga is a ritual to greet the sun, and I've done that and many times. And so meditation and chanting and vocalization, then the hula and the dance and the drumming and all that associated with the performance. Hula was meant to tell a story, and it was the way that they described their environment, and they would create these songs, chants to describe what was going on. And that's how the history was transmitted. There was no written language. It was all oral tradition passed through talking story from one generation to the next. Now I'm going to say in the last 100 years or more, we do have a written language. Hawaiian is written now, and it can be studied and it can be learned. And there's some schools, different schools of thought about the mother tongue of Hawaiian, ancient Hawaiian, and that what the University of Hawaii teaches. It's way above my pay grade. I don't speak Hawaiian. I've studied, I can say a few words. I know a few phrases. I know a few chants, but Hawaiian is not a language that I speak fluently at all. I can understand, some words. But the Hawaiian language it's a beautiful language. And you can listen to Hawaiian music and often hear it sung in popular things. Keali'i Rochelle is a wonderful artist. Gabby Pa'anui, many wonderful artists that will show you Hawaiian music. It's just really lovely. And if you've been to Hawaii and you've been on an airplane, you've heard the steel guitar and the ukulele and different ways of doing Hawaiian music. It's just lovely. There's also a pretty famous technique in Hawaiian called ho'oponopono. And it's H-O, kind of an apostrophe O, and then P-O-N-O, P-O-N-O. And it means ho'o, to make. Pono means to make right or to make okay, to make good. And they say it twice because pono means I'm pono with you, you're pono with me. And that is the forgiveness exercise. It's been popularized by Joe Vitale and Dr. Hugh Len. It was brought to us in our lineage, which I'll talk about in a minute, through Morna Simeona, a kahuna of the 20th century, who really believed that we should all be better at forgiveness. Now, forgiveness in my clinical practice is called the other F word. And this is tongue in cheek and it's kind of a joke, but I work with people who are very, very traumatized by many things. And my role as a psychotherapist is to help them process the trauma and let go of it. And oftentimes when there's betrayal involved, abuse, cult activity, complex PTSD, all sorts of things, when I start the conversation around forgiveness, I get the other F word, like F no. I am not ready to forgive because I deal with sexual assault survivors. Anyway, all people with all sorts of trauma. And forgiveness is often the last thing we work on. The ancient Hawaiians had an entire process for forgiveness called ho'oponopono, and you can look it up and you can find all about it. The literal translation is, I am going to be making myself okay with you, and you're going to make yourself okay with me, so that pono, you and I are fine. We're good. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and that was a big thing. People said, well, I can't forget what they did to me. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning. It doesn't mean saying what they did was okay. And forgiveness doesn't mean getting to get back together with them and having coffee. It doesn't mean that you need to actually have them in your life. But forgiveness does mean letting go of the charge on the betrayal. And this exercise, if nothing else, the other 17 aspects of Huna, this one alone is a life changer. And I've done this and taught this and facilitated workshops on this one for decades. And I am telling you, it is one of the most life-altering activities you can do. So if you're interested and you want a sample recording, you can contact the office at info@drpatrickscott.com, and I'll send you a recording, and we can have a dialogue about it. It's also available on my website. If you sign up, you'll get a 7-minute download for free. That's an energy release kind of a recording. So I encourage you to investigate it. So that's Ho'oponopono. Next activity is called ho'oku'u, which means to make release. So ho'o, to make, ku'u, release. And the ancient Hawaiians knew that if their baggage came up or their emotions came up, I'm sorry, I've got something in my eye, and that they had a technique to let go of it. And so paired with ho'oponopono is often this other one called ho'oku'u, which I do monthly online, and you can subscribe to it and join us monthly for a live meditation. And it's really where your unconscious mind partners with your higher self, and you're able to let go of negativity that has been formed as defense mechanisms. Now, as a therapist, my whole life is about helping people recover from and let go of negativity. Anger, sadness, fear, guilt, limiting beliefs, things they've said to each other, self-deprecating remarks, internal conflicts, core wounds, greater problems, karmic patterns, things they brought into this life. And this other exercise, in addition to Ho'oponopono, is a absolute lifesaver and game changer, where if you can actually think about the baggage you carry around, and it manifests for you as road rage, short-tempered, impatient, this urgency. If you have ever overreacted, where the situation doesn't warrant the emotions you're having, that's called baggage. In the Hawaiian church, they literally call it black bags. And so, I mean, they have a Hawaiian word for it, but it means we when we are not able to process the emotion in the moment, we stuff it. And I come from the upper Midwest, where we got a lot of points for stuffing. Never let them see you sweat. Boys don't cry. Don't be a sissy. Suck it up. Move on. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Put your big girl panties on. Pick your cliche. This idea that we don't air our dirty laundry. And so if anyone were to ask me growing up, well, how's everything at home? Fine. Everything's fine. Now, not that we need to trauma dump on everybody, but without tools to navigate these negative emotions, they go dormant and they fester. And what will happen later in life is this repressed anger, sadness, hurt, fear, guilt, things will fester. And pretty soon, road raging and domestic violence and alcohol use and all sorts of stuff comes out of the stuffing of all these emotions throughout the course of your lifespan. Ho'oku'u is a very specific technique that helps the unconscious mind surface and make available for removal negativity no longer needed by the body. And that's a whole ritual. And it's done in trance, and it's really magnificent. So you can find out more about that on the website. We do a monthly release webinar, which you can sign up for. It's very good. So next is, and there are types of meditations that we do. And next would be a connection with the elements and using elements. And so the building blocks, according to Isaac Newton and Galileo and stuff, we have some building blocks of life. And certainly scientists now know that, there are earth, air, water, fire, and then this source level energy. And in Huna, you learn all about that and how to use and use the elements, the basic building blocks of life. And if you've studied pretty much anything sciencey, engineering, biology, physics, you understand that we are carbon-based life forms. Well, the Hawaiians knew this, and they would teach how to navigate Earth, the Earth energy, the air energy, the water energy, and the fire energy. So that's a core aspect of the Huna teachings, is learning how the elements impact you. There are many aspects to this, and I don't want to belabor it, but my suggestion is that you do some research about Huna. And you can, like I said, you can go to Dr. Matt's website, huna.com or nlp.com. You can go to my website, drpatrickscott.com, and read about Huna. You can also purchase Dr. Matt's book, which is Huna by Matt James. And there's a tagline that I can't remember, but I've read it. It's a paperback. It's not very big. And it'll explain to you all about our lineage. So let's talk about that. So I am a teacher of Huna. I was made a teacher in 2016. I had been a teaching assistant for 2 years prior to that, and for instance, 2014. Prior to that, I was a student, and I just studied. And I started teaching in my community here, and my teacher believed that I should be given the designation of Kumu, Kumu, which just means teacher. And I have been a Kumu for 10 years this year. In fact, in September, it'll be 10 years exactly that I've been a teacher. And a teacher, it's a bit of a title. It's like the sensei or the, bit of a guru, that kind of thing. And we don't necessarily believe in that. But to be a Kumu in this lineage is quite an honor. And it's a very honorific title. And so I, for the last, at least 10 years, probably 15 years, have been teaching lots of classes on Huna, classes on meditation, on energy release, on baggage release, on, past life regression, and, things like that. So it's really worthy of your attention to actually check out Huna and see if, and I'll talk about who should study Huna in a moment. So the lineage dates back to source. And I know that's a weird concept, but in the Hawaiian tradition, if you think about royalty, where the bloodline had to be preserved and that there had to be a male heir, in the Hawaiian tradition, lineage was not only bloodline, meaning it could be passed to other families. And so what happened in our particular lineage of Huna was that we've traced it back. It had a time on Maui for a while. We can go back to the original Hawaiian, and then the manuscript that we have, I'm not going to go into that, details a lot of genealogy. So my teacher's, the generation is 121, because I'm his, Haumana, his student. I am generation 122. That's 122 generations of teachers. And so I have my own little space in the lineage. And if you think about that, a generation is about 25 years, you can do the math that we actually have traced our lineage back a long time through the resources that we have. And there's power in that. And so if you've ever heard the saying, your family lines up behind you to support you, or the guardian angels line up, we can say that in terms of the Huna tradition, that my lineage lines up behind me to support me when I'm teaching. And so people that have taken classes certainly will report that it feels like there's quite a lot of energy and power behind these teachings. So the mechanism of how you study, and I've talked about this before, there are intro classes going on in the country at all times. And so you can contact us and we'll find an intro. Now, an intro could be a 2-hour class. It could be a 4-hour class, could be a half day, a single day, a 2-day, but it's going to be called Introduction to Huna. And maybe it's going to be Introduction to Huna, Ho'oponopono. We're just going to learn Ho'oponopono. Or Introduction to Huna, Ho'oku. You're just going to learn the baggage release. You're going to learn meditation, and so on. Once you've done a few of those, you can sign up. Well, there's no prerequisite. You can always sign up for a level 1 Huna training. And those happen in Japan and on the mainland. Kumamat does one in December, usually in Southern California. I do 2 of them a year, one online completely and one hybrid, which is online and in person. And you can choose to do that. Now, level 1 is also taught in the UK, by the way, Kumu Jain, we'll do also online for European students, an online level one. And so level one is the beginner level. It is for you. It is to teach you how to work with you, how to forgive yourself, how to let your own baggage go, how to nurture yourself, how to have good boundaries. And it's really exclusively the relationship you have with yourself. And it can be done online, which I think is cool because a lot of people, are short for time and resources, and they really want to get it done as quickly as they can for as cheaply as they can. And level one is the only level that is available online, and where you learn all the standard practices. And I'm sorry, but my eye is still kind of itchy. You learn all the standard practices. You learn about the elements. You learn dream interpretation. You learn Ho'oponopono, Ho'oku'u. You learn about some styles of meditation. Lots and lots of things. And then level two, and typically you have to wait 6 months because we offer the classes March and September in Hawaii, is that you can come back to level two. You can come back to level two in Hawaii, even if you've done it online, and all of us work together. It's all a big family. And so whether you do level one with me and you go to Hawaii for level two, and I'm going to talk about the details of how that works in a minute, or you do level two with me, or you go to Japan if you're Japanese, or you go to the UK. I don't actually believe that level two is taught in the UK yet, but however you do it is fine. And level two is for other people. So for those of you that are clinicians or practitioners or light workers or therapists, acupuncturists, massage therapists, and you want to start using these energetic tools in your practice, that's what you learn at level two. You also get assigned spirit guides for you at level two that help you navigate life's challenges and things like that. And that's quite a cool aspect to level two. At level one, we ask that you not practice with others. Hawaiians are big on permission, and we're very clear that at each level you get new and increasing permissions, but that you need to respect the permission that you've gotten. So, for example, at level one, if you've completed level one, you don't have permission to teach it. You don't have permission to call yourself a kumu or to kahuna. You don't have permission to rewrite the manuals and sell it as your own things. And, that just is kind of self-evident, but there are some people who, take a class and they think they're an expert. They want to go ahead and teach it. Level one is for you, practicing for you, practicing your own energy, health, wellness, that kind of thing. Level two is for one other person, for those of you that work with individual clients. Level three starts talking about communities and environments and intuitive abilities and working with larger groups. And then at level four is our ongoing development program, where if you are a level four, it is only taught in Hawaii. I'm doing the first level three class outside of Hawaii and Japan in July, in about a month from now. And level three is lovely, and it helps you with environments and intuitive awareness and reading thought forms and sending energy and creating pule, which is prayer, energetic goal setting, and it's part of the path. So those are levels 1, 2, and 3. Levels 1, 2, and 3 are available in Hawaii, on the mainland, with me, with Kumu Mat, and so on. Now, why would people keep coming back? I think that's because if you come to Hawaii, you're going to see a bunch of people who've been coming for 20 years. It becomes kind of a path. It becomes a passion. It becomes an ongoing field of study that you can continue to polish yourself in so many ways. And at level 4, we are advanced practitioners. There's ways to give back. There's ways to do energy sessions with other students. And I'm not going to go into the nuances of level 4, but at level 4, it becomes what's called halau. Now, halau is the Hawaiian word for school, and it means kind of like a dojo in martial arts or a ballet school in ballet. Or it's a special kind of a school devoted to these healing arts. And once you get to level 4, which takes 2 years, by the way, level 1, it's every 6 months. So it would take 2 years of study to get to be level 4. It becomes an ongoing development program. And there are many, many hundreds of level 4s that come back periodically to refresh their skills and to use it. Many of them are executive coaches and trainers and teachers, and they use these concepts in their daily life and their business to enhance their business for abundance and manifesting absolutely everything that you want. And so it's really cool. And so I highly recommend it. So coming up, if you would like to study with me, I have a level 1 training starting in October. It's October 15th. and runs for 7 days. It's in person or online. It's available on the website, drpatrickscott.com, and that's going to be a level 1 and level 2 training at the same time. Now, you can't do level 1 and level 2 at the same time. You do level 1, you wait 6 months, you do level 2. You wait 6 months, you do level 3. Part of that is that there's a lot to do in terms of integrating the energy, managing your energy. It is not, the study of Huna is not an academic, didactic, lecture-y, I just need to get the information. There is information in the courses, but it's very experiential in terms of the meditation and the energy release. And certainly when you get to level 2 and you start applying it to other people to help them, and there's certain protocols and things that you learn. Not unlike Reiki or yoga or anything else. There's stages that you learn, and I encourage you to be patient with yourself as you go. But Candy Smith is here, and Aurelia is here, and Aurelia is saying October 12th to the 18th is our level 1, 2, and that's in San Diego, and we have a level 3 coming up here in July 15th to the 19th, and also in San Diego. And so if you want to study, check us out. I think it's really great. It's certainly changed my life. And I'll leave you with this, that when I started my studies in 2005, I was a reasonably healthy guy. I had this clinic. I started this clinic. I had a private practice, a psychotherapy practice. I was teaching a little bit. And I started studying Huna, and I did a study, did a dissertation in my PhD program to quantify and measure the efficacy of a particular hypnotherapeutic technique on major depressive disorder. We validated that it worked, and that was published, and it was very successful. And I'm going to say that given neurolinguistic programming and psychotherapy, I use Huna techniques now in my practice when the client can tolerate it. What I mean is, some people are very not into the woo-woo. They're not into the esoteric realms. But I'm learning and I'm discovering more and more that people are, and they come to me wanting that. We have a relatively new veterans program the last 3 years, and a lot of the veterans come in that they say they want the hypnosis, they want the Huna, they want the meditation, they want the forgiveness, because they've tried everything else. They've tried the meds, they've tried the VA, they've tried everything, and so people are desperate these days. And so Huna offers people a real wonderful way to naturally let go of a lot of negativity and baggage. It's just no longer needed by the body. So I started with back pain. Had horrible back pain. I mean, bad, like bad. I'd had car accidents, and I was, had trouble walking, and the orthopedic surgeon wanted to do surgery on my back. I elected not to, but he said that given my back injuries that I shouldn't be able to walk. And I used Huna right away at level 1, I'll never forget, in Hawaii, for pain management and for managing my own back pain and difficulty I had with movement and working out and all that kind of stuff. And I completely healed it using Huna. A few years later, I had a ski accident. I landed on my head, and I had a really bad head injury and traumatic brain injury, if you will. And again, with my teacher, I used Huna to help me navigate that head injury. A couple of years after that, I got cancer. Now you could say, oh God, what a train wreck you were. I was having a lot of health problems in my 50s. And I used Huna to heal myself from stage 4 cancer, stage 4 bladder cancer, and stage 3 prostate cancer. I also went through chemo. I also did radiation and immunotherapy and all sorts of things. And Huna was my saving grace. And so I had a student once in a class in Hawaii a couple of years ago say, are you telling us that you used Huna to save your life? Yes, I did. So I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about it because I believe that if I can do this, you can do this. And if you have any issues, and it's all in the application. And so we don't expect you at level 1 or even 2 to kind of remember everything. That's why we have this kind of ongoing support, ongoing school. There are intro classes, there's online classes, there's things that you can do. And we really encourage you to check it out because it's absolutely, I think, life-changing. For me, it's been life-changing. For me, it saved my life. For me, at 66, I'm just a better version of myself for having had these teachings. So I encourage you to sign up for level 1. You can do level 1 October 12th to the 18th, either online or in person in San Diego. You can sign up for level 2. If you have done level 1 anywhere, you've done Kumamat's 5-day or in Hawaii or online in Europe or Japan, you can do level 2 with any of us in Hawaii or with me or in Japan. If you're ready to come to level 3, we have 4 weeks until our level 3 training in San Diego. It is in person, and you've done levels 1 and 2. Please come to level 3. We've got a few. We have. I think I just found out we have 5 spots left. Now we were almost sold out, and then some things came up, so we have 5 seats left for the level 3 training. Now the prerequisites are you have to have done level 1 and level 2 somewhere, anywhere, with me, with Kumu Jane, Kumu Karen, Kumu Tomoe in Japan, with Kumu Matt, and you can come. Level 3 is a 5-day training in person in San Diego. And that's coming up July 15th. So that's Huna, and please have your questions ready. We encourage you to research it, either huna.com or drpatrickscott.com. Get Kumu-Matt's book. It's available on Amazon. And I wish you the best. I think it's really a great thing. And so I think that's enough for today. So we say, hui ho. We will see you next time for another YouTube Live. Bye.